Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarns, Tony G, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon from Command List, Poppy the Masked Keaton, JC, Ozzy Garcia, Megan Caruso, Retro Overdrive, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, Soha, Storm Beagle, and Captain Ed from Retrotopia, The Emperor, Matt aka Stormageddon from Fun and Games and Reignites, Van Vernal and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Breland, Ryan, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest Podcast, The Retro Vixen, Rick Firestone from Pixel Project Radio, Eric Guess from Unlockables, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands, Ash Event, Alan Bigham from Saxbit, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Low5 Alex from Low5 Gaming, Oh Me, Gary Heather, Makeshift Monet, Riskel, Sega Boy 7, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to Retro Hangover. Hello, retro and classic gamers. Welcome to the podcast where we ghost giggly ghouls getting grain genetic genomes. This is Retro Hangover. I'm your dick dragonless host, Chris Copleen, with special guest from the Anime Field Guide, Super Dave.
Woo, it is good to be back. Thank you for the intro. How you guys been?
Been doing good. I've been doing really good. Life's really treating me well, you know? It's been going really well. Cannot complain. How about yourself?
Very, very busy. So this has been a nice little reprieve. And this is the fun part of my day. This is what I get to do after being in the woods. And we'd recently had some ice storms and things. So it's just, we got hit pretty bad in some places. So it's good to sit down and like go, take a breath, talk about Ghost in the Shell, which is something that I love dearly, very much dearly.
You know, it's still weird, you know, recording this just to date it, everybody, in early 2026, that I've lived in the South. I know you've lived in the South much longer than I have. I've lived in the South now for over 20 years and never have seen anything like I saw recently. So when you say ice storms where you're living, I am just like, what are we coming to, man? What is going on? Ice storms there? No, it's ridiculous. Stop it. It's not real.
Well, that's what we thought when we saw old Winter Storm Fern coming down. And I, of course, as an anime podcaster, I made the one single joke where Fern from Freeran is making a pouty face as she's coming down to hit Mississippi. And yeah, she hit us pretty hard. And even where I was kind of on the fringe of it. We lost power for like 10 hours. Some
That's
folks
insane.
that I know, some folks I know, they were knocked out for 10 days or more. God, my poor mother had a cold during it, and then they were without power for over a week where they were. So it was just, and I had to go get somebody. Somebody was flying in from Memphis, Tennessee, and I told them, I literally cannot get to you. Like the roads, the interstates are frozen over. Trucks are piled up. Like 18-wheelers were just piled up everywhere. No one's going into Memphis from where I am. I said, I can get you from Jackson, Mississippi. No ice down there. Or at least by then we'd had like 3 days of balmy 35-degree days to, melt it down and turn it into a slush. So, but by the time I had to go back up to Memphis, it was like good. And then the last 45 minutes, just white knuckling it on the interstate as it was just snow piled up. Well, not even snow. Again, it was just frozen. I haven't.
Yeah.
This is probably a couple of years ago we had a pretty bad one, but this is probably the worst one I've been through. And
Yeah.
y'all, Mississippi is not built for this. So
No.
literally not built for this. I thought our air conditioner, or the outside unit, we have an outside unit because we don't encounter temperatures below, like we'll get temperatures like in the teens, but like we had a wind chill like 0. It's like that doesn't happen down here. You don't understand. And we have all the humidity as well. So anytime it gets colder, it gets damn colder. So I thought my outside unit had frozen shut for a while. So no, this is where we're like 2 weeks out of that, all of that, and still cleaning up limbs and everything. So, but that even so, it's still very fresh. So sorry for the tangent about how about that weather, but I mean, literally, how about that weather? We haven't had it in years and years and years. Just a freak event down here.
And if y'all don't know, in the summer, Mississippi is Satan's taint. That's just
to put it mildly, yes.
Yeah, to put it mildly. Anyway, today we're talking about Ghost in the Shell standalone complex for the PSP. That's what we're doing. It is the final episode as part of our anime series, Anime Month. I don't know. This is 3 straight animes in a row. We started with Vampire Hunter D, then we went into Magic Knight Rayearth, and we're going to cap it off with Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Interesting group of games. I'll get into why we chose that after we get through the brief history. But before we do, as is tradition, as we are wont to do, we like to talk about the games we are playing lately. And that means that we will start, as tradition dictates, with our guest. So, Dave, what games have you been playing lately? Or animes have you been watching if you haven't been?
Oh, I've been doing plenty of both, more on the anime side, but the games I've been playing, namely, first off, after Christmas, I decided I've been a very good boy in 2025, so I got myself a Nintendo Switch 2 as part of also a very generous trade-in, and with that brand new shiny system, I decided I'm going to put this thing to the test. So I purchased Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, the Nintendo Switch 2 version. They had it on sale, so I picked it up. And Rune Factory is like a series that I've always wanted to like more than I do. It's a cozy game, so like Stardew Valley with swords and sorcery and magic and all these things. Guardians of Azuma is a spinoff within the series, and it's been very delightful. It's not meant to be a very challenging game. It's just kind of go in, go out, do a couple, run the farm, do some dungeon diving. So very much in the, like last year when I came on for Harvest Moon, very much still in that Harvest Moon space. And then we also had the latest update in the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Animal Crossing New Horizons, 5 years, 5 years in the making, I suppose. So
you got there.
Yeah, but with the new console, it was a new island, so I've started that again from scratch. And again, it's go in, do my 15 minutes, go out, build up the island, make a bunch of cliffs, to just decorate the place. And actually, just the other day, I bought Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or they had like what was called the Rebel Collection, Black Flag, Rogue, and I think it has like Freedom Cry from like the Vita and such. It's one of those collections. I have the Ezio collection on my PlayStation 4, so I was like, well, I could go in for the big old collection, but then I'd just be buying the Ezio stuff all over again. Not the biggest fan of Assassin's Creed 3, so I was like, I'll just get the 4 and Rogue for like $15. Classic Ubisoft. So I'm finally getting to play Black Flag. Only took me 10 years to do that. But yeah, started it up last night. It's fun as always. I played the first hour. It's like, yep, this is Assassin's Creed. And now we're here.
You're having some fun. I haven't played Black Flag either. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since 2, and I played that late. If I do play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I will play it on my Wii U, because I
forgot they got a port there. Yeah, yeah.
Did. 3 got one too.
Yes, I remember the one for 3, yeah.
Either of them are well regarded on the Wii U. Developers didn't know how to optimize anything there.
No.
But they're still on the Wii U, so that means, in my mind, they are the best versions.
Yeah, this one's like I think it's like the Switch port and it's running. So it's like the Switch graphics. It's running at 30 frames, but of course, with a little bit more horsepower behind what I have, any kind of minor slowdowns or things are basically non-existent.
Of course.
And got the Pragmata demo on there as well. I haven't kicked it off, but I do want to play Pragmata on the Switch too. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to buy that game. Looks like a lot of fun.
My son's been having a good time with the demo.
Good. I mean, everything that I've seen looks great. I just need to sit down and play it. Anime wise, I'll just keep it brief. Like mainly just watching seasonals. I have one big one that's a little bit of a nostalgia thing for me, and it's one of also I'm getting ready to do an episode on Samurai Troopers or Ronin Warriors for the Anime Field Guide. That's going to be in March. So I'm currently watching back through. Well, I'm kind of skimming the original series because I did an episode on it on my old show back in 2023. It was like my second ever episode of podcasting. So going back, revisiting Ronin Warriors because there is a new show. 35 years later, they said we have new samurai troopers or Yoroi Shinden samurai troopers. And it is very much like 35 years in universe. It's new, it's a whole new batch of kids. Some of the old troopers are still around. So Ryo of the Wildfire is in the show. I can confirm. And some other characters are still there as well. So it's just been a nice little fan service, nostalgia deal. You get to see all the fun samurai trooper attacks and up to date animation. The armor is CG, but that's kind of whatever. New season of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, season 2. Love season 1, just comfy fantasy show. And I actually, speaking of fantasy, I just wrapped up, this isn't a current seasonal, but I just wrapped up my first ever watch of, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Been meaning to watch that with Kyoto Animation. It's a cute show. So it's cute, cozy. I'll probably continue it tomorrow. I think I'll keep going with season 2. Season 1 was very delightful. So it was just a nice little cute comfort show. And that's mainly what I'm watching. I have another show like Medalist, which is it's a figure skating anime. Had its first season this exactly a year ago was the first season of Medalist. Unless I'm conflating it with a 20 or 24. No, it was a 25 show. Excuse me. Medalist, ice skating show. Love it. It's on Disney Plus, Hulu. So right now I'm just letting it all come out because there's a weirdness going on. Like Hulu says they have it, they don't have it. So just waiting to see what all that happens. And at this point, there's only going to be like 9 episodes of it anyway. So I'm just going to let it all come out, catch it up when I can. That's just, those are the 3 that I at least wanted to mention.
I think I have watched my son watch Medalist. Because I go out and they're like, what is that anime about? And he's like, ice skating. I'm like, what? This is okay. This is where we are. But you're saying it's good, so I'll take your word for it. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I don't know where you were on in the episode. I know there's like several comedy moments and things, but yeah, Medalist is one of those of classic underdog story. The little girl who just wants to be an ice skater. No one's really giving her a chance because at 11 years old, she is an old hag in the world of ice skating. You're too old to start ice skating. You needed to try and be an ice skater when you were 5 or 6, kid. No one can teach you anything. Well, she's showing everybody
maybe
else.
It wasn't Medalist. Maybe it was not Medalist then, because they were older than 11.
Oh yeah, no, Medalist is like a bunch of kids.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know what you walked in on then.
I have no idea. I'll have to ask him. Definitely not kids. Okay, so what have I been playing? I've been playing a game for the Saturn. I hit a wall for IO Saturnalia, so if you don't see some IO Saturnalia episodes soon, patrons, I understand. Well, I just want you to understand. It's not that I understand, I already know. It's because I hit a wall, and that wall is a strategy RPG, and I don't have a lot of time to play games, because I'm like busy with the real life stuff. No one told me that being an adult was going to be this difficult, but here I am. But it's called Mystaria, The Realms of Lore, aka Blazing Heroes, aka Riglord Saga, for the Sega Saturn. It's an incredibly ugly game with horrible localization, but astonishingly, it doesn't play terribly. It's like Shining Force, except fugly. That's pretty much it. That's what this game is. It has like a really cool like level up system too, because every single time you use an ability, characters gain abilities based on what abilities you use. And I enjoy that. But man, this game is an ugly game. And it's slow. The loading times are terrible. I'm giving too much away for when I eventually get to that episode. Why would I give my thoughts away here too much? Just know it's gonna be an interesting ride. Aside from that, I did beat Mass Effect 2 very quickly, which is going to be the next mainline episode here on the show. Look forward to hearing us talk about that with Matt, aka Stormageddon. That's going to be a fun one. I just powered through that game in like a week. I put 40 hours in that game in a week.
I was about to ask, how quick is quickly? Like how big of an asterisk do you have to put next to quickly? Yeah, no. Yeah. If you just know life it, then yeah, I'll bet it went by fast.
Well, I had I had the opportunity to take a week off. I needed to take the week off, and that's what I did with my time.
I'm about at that point myself. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, as long as I'm gonna be at home and not do anything, I might as well play some Mass Effect. So I did that, and probably go into more detail again on that one. I love how still I'm talking about games that I've been playing and it's only for content. It's so diabolical. I hate my life. I don't actually, but it's just one of those gamers problems. I don't want to say first world. It's like, it's even more privileged than first world. It's like a gaming problem.
Well, especially like you did this to yourself. I did something. He's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow through. I did something somewhat similar on for my show. It was during, so to set things up, my January episode was on a sports anime called Chihaya Furu. Delightful show, slice of life. It's a card game. But the whole series, we decided to do the whole series with a good friend of mine, and Tyler from the Anime Degents. The show is 75 episodes long, all 3 seasons, 25 episodes each. I decided to sit down and watch this in December during the holidays. And then I was basically scrambling the first week of January to get it all finished. And again, it was great, but it was one of those, like the last 2 days, I think I watched like 36 episodes of anime across like 2 days. Because it was one of my, it was just something nuts. I don't do that. I do not do that. So I was, and then I still had to write the damn thing and sit down and talk. And Tyler is also a good old Southern boy. And when you sit down with 2 Southern gentlemen like ourselves, we like to take our time and talk and meander and talk about the things, which is why the episode is like 2.5 hours long. And I think the conversation was like 3.5 hours. But after it was all said and done, I was like, whew. Then I had to turn around and do a play. What was it? I think I had to turn around and do a Yu-Gi-Oh episode right after that for like another show. But that was for video games. I did not have to watch 500 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh. But still, it was like 75 episodes in December after Christmas. No, thank you.
I'm surprised you're not burnt out on anime.
I was burnt out from slice of life shows for sure after Chihaya Furu.
Yeah.
But because I mean, like I'm not even kidding. The week after we did that episode was when you and I sat down for Gunbuster.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like 6 episodes of Gunbuster was like nothing.
Nice breezy series.
Nice,
very breezy.
Yeah, very, very, very brief and svelte in comparison. So yeah, I sympathize greatly with your plight, but at least you had a nice free week to sit down and devote to Mass Effect. That would when Xenoblade Chronicles X came out last year, that was basically me. I just played just that game for like a month. Whenever
that
I was
just
like
110 hours too. It's
just about. Yeah, it was a big one. So absolutely.
All right. Well, now that we've given our brief history on our local brief history in terms of what we've been playing, it's time to talk about another game, which is called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex for the PSP. Why do I have to stress that? Well, I'll kind of get that into the brief history. Speaking of which, it's time to get into the brief history of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Another anime game with little development? Well, you know what that means. Time for anime history. Loosely based on the manga created in 1989, Ghost in the Shell, a standalone complex, is an anime television series from Production IG. It would see the departure of the original manga's creator, Masamune Shirow, and would be written and directed by Kenji Kamiyama, who most people in the West probably wouldn't recognize. But they did do background art for DuckTales. Anime fans will recognize the series' prolific composer, Yoko Kanno, who is also the mind behind Macross Plus, the vision of Escaflowne, Cardcaptor Sakura, and perhaps most famously, Cowboy Bebop, among others. The basic premise for Standalone Complex is that there is a special operations unit known as Public Security Section 9, who investigates terrorism, with the first season focusing on a terrorist known as the Laughing Man. There were 2 seasons with 52 episodes that ran from October of 2002 to January of 2005, as well as an OVA, and it was generally received well. And that's mostly it for the anime. Want more details than that? Well, you can listen to Dave's show, The Anime Field Guide. Well, in general, you should just listen to that anyway. As for the game, it was obviously made to be a companion piece for the series. There would be 2 different versions made, one for the PS2 that was released in 2004, and one for the PSP, which is the one we're talking about today, that is actually a sequel to the PS2 game. The PSP game was developed by G Artists and published by Bandai, except in Japan, where it was published by Sony themselves. It was first released on September 15th, 2005 in Japan, with Europe getting it next on October 21st, and finally North America on October 25th. Critically, it was received as a mostly average game at best, with Metacritic having an aggregate score of 61 out of 100. Commercially, it doesn't appear to do so well, with numbers really coming out of North America, at least according to VG charts, with total sales around 60,000 units. Aside from that, nothing really of note about this game. It hasn't been released on anything else to this point, as is the fate of many licensed games. And that is your brief history of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. So, Dave, you are the expert here. You are the subject matter expert on anime. I know you can read the brief history here. Tell me, what you really, because we're going to be talking about the game the entire time. Can you give me a brief synopsis of what you thought of the anime, of which this game is kind of based off of?
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell, to me, just to put my cards on the table, it's my favorite anime, just full stop. I think I started with the franchise with the movie, and it was one of those I'd heard about the movie, checked it out during college, and I liked the movie, and then it was on a band trip, so I was in the college band. I stumbled into an FYE and at one of the malls that we frequented on our stops to like a bowl game or something, as bands travel. And there was Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex on the shelf, and it was basically, not only is it my favorite anime, it's what got me into anime collecting. I have the case of the Bandai Spirits, or the Bandai set of from Manga Video. But it's Standalone Complex. At the time, I'd not really, I'd heard of it, but I never checked it out. I never saw it on Adult Swim or Toonami or anything like that. But I liked the movie, 1995 movie. So I sat down, and it just completely took over my imagination. Kind of set the scene. Standalone Complex, Ghost in the Shell has a whole thing of the movies are one thing, Standalone Complex is its own thing, the manga is its own thing, but they're all kind of tangentially, they all kind of just orbit around each other. It's the same themes, even if they don't share, like you don't need to go into Mamoru Oshii's films to get the storyline to Standalone Complex. They're 2 separate things. So Standalone Complex is basically cyberpunk police procedural. It's based on the manga, by Masamune Shirow, as we said in the brief history. And the way that the anime is structured is you have an overarching mystery or an overarching crime thing going on. For like season 1, it's a guy named the Laughing Man, and it's pharmaceuticals. It's sprinkled within are called like standalone episodes where it'll be more of like a character study, or it'll be here's an interesting way that this cybercrime might be carried out. It's like someone's hacking into the traffic system, or some kind of visiting dignitary is secretly an android who's been cloning himself so he can such and so. Just interesting little snippets there. So the standalone complex, to me, as it is best, is a very like it's a very layered experience where it's your classic crime thing of here's a case as it's presented at the start. You start following a trail, doesn't quite go the way you think it is, or it leads you to another part of the trail. Something splits off. There's more red herrings in a fish market. All of your like classic mystery police investigation follow the breadcrumbs, and inevitably you crack the case. And usually there's a shootout of some kind, of which another thing of Ghost in the Shell, there's a lot of attention to detail. This is gorgeously animated. One of the, at the time, it was one of the most expensive anime ever made. And the money shows. And even today, 20 years later, I kid you not, Standalone Complex Season 1, like not even with nostalgia goggles or anything, you can go look at it on Tubi TV and get back to me. Standalone Complex, especially Season 2 in like 2004 and 05, can still look just as good as most modern anime coming out 20 years later. That's how good it looks, and that's how much a detail is in there. So it's not just me going, oh, I like this thing from the 80s and the 90s and early aughts. It's a show that still remains timeless, and it still has a lot to say about internet and humans and society. And boy, I really like this series. I'm just keep going on, aren't I?
So it almost sounds like there's a little bit of film noir in there too.
Yeah, it goes like multiple genres. One can be, there'll be like an episode that's more like a spy thriller. One episode is we'll dive into a character's past that's almost like it's almost like Platoon, or he's having like it's essentially one guy's having like Vietnam flashbacks when someone from his past is resurfacing in the modern. Instead of fighting in the jungles, they're now fighting in the streets, and he has to track this guy through the urban jungle. And yeah, I love the interplay of the Section 9 crew, Motoko Kusanagi. I know the term waifu gets thrown around a lot. Like she's not my waifu or anything. She's one of those, like, I like to go watch her work. A character I very much like, take charge, badass lady leading a team of badasses. Her second in command, Bato, is a goofy muscle brain, but also more smart than people give him credit for. Togasa, the family man of the group, the former police detective. He gets to do his detective thing multiple times. That's your main trio, and then the other squad mates will float in and out. As far as what's relevant to the game, there's one other guy called Saito, and he's the sniper. And then, of course, Chief Aramaki, who's the old man in the chair who gets all of the background political wheeling and dealings done so his team can go to work.
So I need to check out Standalone Complex. I need to check out a lot of anime. I've gotten that out of my rotation. That's why I'm thankful to have Dave in this community, because he keeps me connected.
Yeah. Definitely put Standalone Complex at the top of your list. It's been unavailable for streaming for so long. Well, legally. And there are recent Blu-ray sets that came out. Manga Video is the company that publishes them, or the one that's distributing them, is known for being notoriously cheap. So the Blu-rays, you'll go over there, it's like, holy crap, Blu-rays for $20 for a 25 episode series. No, it's not a bootleg. It's sitting over there in Walmart shelves. They're fine, but audio issues and other things. But I mean, you can do much worse for 2 sets at $20 a pop. Or you can go
for sure.
Yeah, or you can go on the free streaming site Tubi TV. It's been a couple of months since they were added, but I mean, they're there. And plus the compilation movies, both seasons. The Solid State Society is the movie that follows it all up. It's all there. And both, you can watch it dubbed or subbed. Both are amazing, iconic casts. Like, you really can't go wrong. It's at least available now for wider people to go back and rediscover this show. And especially with part of the reason I picked Standalone Complex for this, I think there's going to be a wider look back at this show in the next couple of months when we get Ghost in the Shell 2026 hitting the TV screens in like just a couple of weeks. Actually, I think it's a spring 2026 show, so it'll be like April when it's coming out.
Okay, so I was going to get into that because let's segue into personal experiences for this game, and I'm just going to be super quick. I didn't play this game. I briefly heard about this game. Dave said that this is the game he wanted to play this year because we didn't really play an anime game last year. We played Harvest Moon. So he really did an anime game. He
It's
picked
kind of
Standalone
anime.
Complex. Kind of. I mean, it has anime aspects. Yeah. But he nominated Standalone Complex. Well, he asked for Standalone Complex, and of course I agreed. And he didn't nominate the PS2 one, and he didn't nominate Ghost in the Shell for the PS1. So that does kind of ask the question, Dave, why this version of this game from this series? Why what are your personal experiences with it, and why are we playing it today? Or for today, I should say.
Yeah,
we already played it.
I think the main reason is, number one, I actually own this game. And it's a weird set of circumstances that led me to owning this game. You wouldn't believe if I told you, I went into a GameStop while I was on a marching band trip, different year than when I bought the anime. But yeah, I went into a GameStop. I had my PlayStation Portable on the bus with me. And I was like, I have a little bit of money to burn. And I went in and I bought Harry Potter Goblet of Fire for the PlayStation Portable because I was like, fine, it's like $5. And I was like, I can do worse for $5. The game didn't run. And that's because the UMD, the disc, was clogged. Well, all of a sudden, I start looking at this thing, and I'm going, why is it, like, it's just not moving? There's nothing obstructing it. What's going on? Well, I could actually open the top of this UMD case, because supposedly these discs are supposed to be sealed, and there's like a plastic thing around it. Well, no, this thing was open. So it's like, well, is it loose? Well, I open it up a little bit, 2 games fall out. Okay, what's going on? So Harry Potter Goblet of Fire was jammed in there with a copy of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex for the PSP. I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. And I didn't play it on the bus because with the PSP and with things, even on like a nice bus and things, on like a charter bus, the PSP and travel don't really mix when you have that disc rattling around in there. But also, not only that, because I seriously considered doing the PlayStation 1 game, or especially the PlayStation 2 game, because that's Standalone Complex. But the thing is, and I would certainly be down to even going back and playing those if it's like come back and, oh, Dave's doing Ghost in the Shell again for 27. Yeah, I would certainly be that guy. But the main thing is, the PlayStation Portable is I think, a fascinating little console that doesn't get that much love across the wider retro gaming space. Everyone's, and this is just my opinion, because I see, like, when you think of PlayStation and retro, it's always PlayStation 1, PS2, a little bit of 3, things of that nature. Not a lot of folks are talking about the PlayStation Portable in regards to everything else, which, fair enough. It was very much the secondary console next to the home stuff. Sony was more of like, yeah, we have our main consoles, and then I guess we'll throw a game, or we'll throw like a side game or something. But on top of that, I think when I was playing it for the first time, I thought this is a fascinating problem that developers had to tackle at this time, and that is, not only is a PSP game, it's a first-person shooter on a PSP game. And for those of you listeners who may not have a PSP, there is no second analog stick. You have the nub, and that is it. So, not to jump ahead into gameplay or anything, but there's an interesting challenge when you're trying to develop a first-person shooter and you basically have no camera, or no traditional way of controlling a camera. So it was all these factors and more that I went, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's do Ghost in the Shell PlayStation Portable and talk about a game that, if I was going to go on a retro gaming podcast, sure, there are a lot of games that still hold up today as retro, but I wanted to kind of tackle something a little bit challenging, of a game that is you can define it as a game that is very much of its time. The challenges that this game had to address do not exist anymore. And so that's why I picked Ghost in the Shell for the PSP.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of interesting points there that I'll touch on since I was so brief in my briefest with my personal experience. I think you're right. Like, the people don't realize how wildly successful the PSP was, considering I never hear anyone talk about it anymore. Aside from the resident PC shill, Randall, shout out to you. Hopefully you hear this. But the PlayStation Vita, it seems that gets talked more about than the PSP. And the Vita was a massive flop. I wouldn't call it a disaster. It still sold like 14 million units. And that's,
it's very respectable for what it is.
It should be respectable, but in the grander scheme of things, it's really not. But I mean, like, people did play a Vita, but still, not to get on a Vita tangent, the PSP dominated the Vita. Like, it's not even close. I think it sold like 80 million units or something like that. So this was a very successful console. No one talks about it. So getting a PSP game on here is, I appreciated it. Unfortunately, I didn't actually play it on a PSP because this game is not cheap. And that's probably going to skew my perception of this game in a couple of the categories. So we're probably going to have some diverging opinions, especially based off some screenshots I saw. That'll be interesting. So thank you for getting a PSP game on the show. I do appreciate that. I love the PSP. It's a good little console. I don't think I ever truly appreciated it in its time because the Nintendo DS was its competition, and the Nintendo DS, despite the PSP selling like 80 million units, the DS did almost outsell it 2-1. I think that's another aspect of why it doesn't really get covered, which is insane. Like, it's just insane. What a time to be a gamer back then. My God. It was great. Okay. Let's now just get into the game proper. Right into it. And I couldn't find a manual for this game, so I'm not reading out of the manual. But so we're just going to get into what I interpreted as the plot writing. I say plot writing, like that's a normal thing. Oh, you have a manual.
No,
that makes sense.
I just have my notebook. I have the field guide notebook in my hand, so I'm just
nice.
I just took notes.
So I'm going to give a brief synopsis here and say you are, what is it, Operation 9? Is that what they're called?
Section 9. Yeah, they're
Section 9.
Yeah, the government of Ghost in the Shell is basically divided into sections. You can think of it like your different cabinets.
Okay.
Or, well, Section 9 is like a part of a section of a government. So like Section 3, I think, is like the police.
Okay.
And your traditional police. Oh, no, Section 6, excuse me.
So Section 6 and Section 9. Got it.
Very nice, yes.
Yes. So Section 9 is the group that you're part of, which features the Makoto that everyone knows and loves. And also has the other characters that Dave mentioned. I'm going to get into why I don't care about them in a minute. And the Tachikoma, which is an AI tank bot, and there's 4 of them who are absolutely delightful, which I will also get into, I'm sure. But apparently you're trying to find out who like a political terrorist insider is who caused all sorts of problems before. And you and your team are out to thwart this person and discover the true identity of who is behind all these misgivings of an event that also happened 20 years ago. Look, I'm going to get into why it's so scattershot for me in a minute. So, Dave, I know I missed a ton here. What is the basic premise here in your interpretation?
Well, funny enough, my feelings on the overall story are very similar to yours, as we had a couple of discussions. But to kind of get into how this all starts, essentially there is supposed to be a report that was going to shed light on all of these. Yeah, like it was a report that was previously classified. It's about to be declassified. Some terrorists are now in the National Archives going, we want that report. Well, the archives get blown up. So the government is, of course, accused of a conspiracy to conceal this special report that was going to, reveal all of this tragedy of 20 years ago.
Hold on. The government trying to cover up a report that may incriminate a lot of people.
Say it ain't so.
No,
No.
that would never happen.
Would never happen. Totally fiction.
Fiction.
So your investigation basically takes you to the place where it all happened. And as far as the continuity within Standalone Complex, they call this, I don't even think they really called it canon to Standalone Complex. It just says this takes place in 2030, which is like the first year of Standalone Complex. Fine. And they say you're going to the far north. The far north of where? Just the far north.
Far north.
Heavily, I mean, I think it's like just supposed to be the far north of Japan. That's basically tickling Russia over there, or because there's also, yeah, like the Russians get involved in this plot because you can't have a good spy thriller without the Russians being bad.
Of course not.
Of course not. So this basically takes you to where it all happened 20 years ago. And there's a series of, like you said, nefarious plots and cover-ups. There's a very, very grumpy and likely crooked politician who's just grumbling about your presence there. And on top of investigating things, it is your job as Section 9 to protect this man. There have been like assassination attempts against him. His testimony is essential for the details of this report, which apparently, again, he has a lot of involvement. So while you're trying to uncover a terrorist plot, you also have to protect a crooked politician as you are also gathering evidence to indict him. A lot of other things get involved on the way. So people who served under a general that was, again, caught in this great big scandal 20 years ago. Just a lot of things are going on, and not all of it quite fits together. It kind of becomes a bit of a case or like a word salad kind of approach.
Yes, it does. By the way, the name of this report is very problematic. It's called the H88 report. If you know why that's problematic, you know why it's problematic. I'm not explaining this. I'll leave that up to all of you. Not worth explaining why. Terrible name for it, though.
No, you could have picked anything else.
Oh my God.
You could have called it the cookie jar report and just moved on.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot better. But okay, to get into the plot itself, let's talk about it. As you could tell, you had to remind me of the finer details because I could not care at all about the way that this game delivered the plot. It is so incredibly boring and stiff and dry. I didn't care. And I think one of the other problems is that all of the exposition is in dumps. And it comes off as it assumes the player is already invested in all things about this game. Now, from what I understand, this game is technically a sequel to the PS2 game.
No mention of it.
But no mention of it. Okay, so it's not really connected then. Okay, that makes it worse. It's just this assumption that people are invested, that you know these characters, you know who all of these people are. And to be fair, that might be the case, but from everything you've told me, this doesn't sound all that connected to the actual anime television series in any meaningful way. And it boggles my mind because a lot of it is just the Section 9 sitting around and talking and talking and talking and not shutting up. And then Tachikoma comes around and says some really hilarious crap. And it makes the entire portion, I wouldn't say worth it, but I'm like, oh, okay, that was delightful. Now and then, like, you go to these segments and it just feels like, okay, I'm just gonna go kill more things or blow things up or something. I didn't care. I didn't care. It wasn't memorable. It didn't hook me. Nothing about it just made me interested in this game's plot whatsoever. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. The key thing here is it is definitely very, very stilted, because typically what you would think of, well, actually, let me back up, because ostensibly what I think this game wants you to think is this is just a very long standalone episode of Ghost in the Shell, the standalone of the Ghost in the Shell anime.
Episode.
It's just like a long standalone episode. And the problem is this is that you're trying to write a video game where when Section 9 is doing something like this, there's typically a lot more subterfuge and actual investigation going on. There's not exactly like you can't exactly control Togusa as he spends like a couple of days snooping around some files or going around and visiting and interrogating folks. That's not interesting gameplay if you're going to have like a shooter. You see, it's a casualty of limited of just, again, things on the PSP were just kind of limited in scope. So this is more of just, okay, how are we going to do this? Or we're just going to have them stand around and talk. And standing around and talking can be interesting if the dialogue has anything to say. But the unfortunate part is while there was a writer from the Standalone Complex anime on here, it's not like a lot of it was just standing around and stating the obvious, and then someone would chime in to have a quip just so like, oh, Bato hasn't had a line in like 5 minutes. Let him say something and he'll say something snarky. They're trying, it's like someone, when I was playing it, it was like, this feels like the kind of plot someone would write if they were a fan of Standalone Complex and had only seen Standalone Complex and goes, this is my fan fiction for an episode. Section 9 is going to do this, and everything's just going to involve, oh no, terrorists are coming out of the woodwork, so now we have to go shoot them all every time we have to go. Even the stealth missions just devolve into...
They're dreadful.
There is no stealth. You just shoot them before they can raise the alarm, even if it is like with a full-on assault rifle. Doesn't matter.
We'll get there, but they're dreadful. They're dreadful.
Yeah, so the delivery is just stilted. It's very like just on the nose, very basic delivery, and it's just like you said, it's just boring. This doesn't feel like Standalone Complex dialogue. This feels like a fan who binged Standalone Complex and then told ChatGPT, "Hey, make me a video game plot set in the world of Standalone Complex."
ChatGPT would be appropriate for this world. And it's not like there were moments,
sure, but yeah.
There were moments, and I think like they just let them trail off for too long. Like they had a plot that was interesting, but then they had to interject it with a bunch of crap that wasn't interesting because they needed additional missions to kind of put the entire game together.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, well, we need to have these many missions and have this much gameplay. Okay, our plot is a little too short to match up with this, which would make sense. So let's just bloat the fuck out of it.
Like, I think
that's what, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the campaign itself is like 5 hours on the long end. I think it took me about 4 hours to beat this game. And like an average game length on like how long to beat is like 3.5 to 5 hours. So I failed a couple of missions on just because I was basically just overthinking it on a couple of these missions. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, let me dumb myself down. And so I think I clocked in at right around 4 1/4. Mm-hmm. So it's not a long game at all. And it's very much like sit down, play a mission on your lunch break or something, go do something else.
Well, what pisses me off, it starts off, what was the guy, one of the first major guys, well, you kill him. He's like a revolutionary or some sort of activist or something. And he hands over his legacy. He passes the torch to this person who you think is another, like a little girl who's a synthetic human who has another Tachikoma.
Oh, him. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, what's going on with him? What's going on with this girl? What's going on with this Tachikoma? And that's interesting. But they wait so long to address anything, and when they address anything, they deliberately leave out information, so it doesn't really progress the story, because the Tachikoma talking to, I forget the robot's name, talking to the other robot, they speak in, like, vagueness, because they have all these, like, code words, and they don't really say anything that has any meaning to it, because everything is, oh, what are they talking about? It's a mystery. And I don't ever feel like they ever get to the point of what's going on with these characters. Like, it's never really addressed. If it was, I missed it. I stopped caring because there was no payoff. And that was the most interesting aspect. Like, why is this girl running around shooting people? Why is she being a threat? What, like, why is her makeup not fully synthetic? Why is she part human? Like, oh, okay, like this is something that's important in this world. I want to know more. No, we have to go back to some politician being corrupt 20 years ago and trying to thwart an investigation by covering up a report from getting out into the open. Oh boy. Exciting. Said no one playing this. It's just, I hate the fact that the most interesting aspects to this game kind of took a seat behind the very much less interesting aspects, or the aspects that weren't sold as being interesting.
Right.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the plot, Dave?
I think there was potential with, because on top of the little girl, there's like a random little girl running around that has like some ties again to what happened all those years ago, but also not at all. Like she just seemed like an unneeded factor. But again, like I said, she was so interesting because actually, I think it's just called like a bioroid or like a biohuman. She's like not a cyborg, but not entirely human either. That hasn't been discussed in this series so far, or at least as far as I can remember. It wasn't like a main plot point standalone complex. So I thought that could be an interesting thing, almost like the next step of what part of Ghost in the Shell has always been, like the next evolution of humanity. The idea is basically we're not quite there yet, but the foundation is being laid for humanity to expand beyond our mortal boundaries and to, we're becoming steadily more and more machine. So she kind of represents the old way, still fully human, but something else is happening. And it's just there. There's also a secret organization going on in the back of all of this, which ties back to someone who was trying to originally bring all of this corruption to light. And it just becomes something more of a collection of code words of this secret society of we were wronged 20 years ago. And this guy, again, this politician has to die because he is upsetting the world order and all of these promises of redevelopment. This place was ravaged 20 years ago, and this one guy swooped in and got all these contracts, and he's left us all here to rot. And, he's living it up over here while all of our utilities are failing. Like, there's a legitimate conflict here of like, okay, yeah, this guy we're protecting really sucks. But by the time all of that becomes relevant, again, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's the Scooby-Doo villain is unmasked completely. You just kind of get to a point like where this one guy is like, yeah, I'm not pretending anymore. I was like, about damn time. I knew it was you like 2 hours ago. So it's just nothing. There's not, the pieces are there, but it's just not assembled together in a really meaningful way. No,
not at all. Not at all. All right. So maybe that's a good segue into our next topic, which is the gameplay. As Dave mentioned earlier, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex for the PSP is a first-person shooter. Now, as Dave also said, there's no second analog stick. So how do you control this? Well, the second analog stick is essentially your face buttons. Yes, that's how this game plays. Trigger with the R button. That's how you shoot. I forgot what the L button does. I think you jumps.
Yeah, L button jumps.
Yeah. And then they have all sorts of functions that you can use with the D-pad, which kind of works, kind of doesn't. Especially if you've held a PSP, I can't get that later. I was about to go on a tangent. I'll just back off. Okay. That's the basic premise of the gameplay. Okay, Dave, how did you play this game? Did you play this with the PSP? Or did you play it like I did and like a filthy pirate and play it emulated?
No, I popped in the disc and I played through the whole thing on my PSP, which, as you started to say, I think this is not a unique problem to Ghost in the Shell. I also have Medal of Honor on the PSP, also have Battlefront, and essentially all of these games use the face button for your primary aiming. Okay, well, how do you precision aim? Oh, you sweet summer child. I long to hear how it is in the world of dual analog sticks. No, there is no precision aiming with this. You have a lock-on button. So what the idea is, you swing your camera into the general vicinity of a guy, press your lock-on button, and just hold shoot until they're dead. Move on to the next guy. The problem is I'm controlling... So, as you said, you aim with the face buttons. R is shoot, L is jump. The D-pad is your tactical menu. So the right and left D-pad, I believe, is for like swapping weapons. Like you select button pulls up a map, and then you have extra tactic menu. So when you're in the game, your Tachikoma is accompanying you, and you can of course customize its loadout, which I think is pretty cool. You have different, you have different Tachikomas. They have different moods. I always just went with the default one, and you can tell it to do all kinds of things. Wait here, go to this point, search and destroy, which is basically what I had it on all the time. And the D-pad also swaps out your own weapons. I think it's like D-pad up, left. It's one of the D-pad buttons also to, if you are running low on ammo, you can take one of the enemy weapons. So it's a D-pad thing to drop your gun, pick up something else. The aiming, your lock-on button is D-pad down. So kind of in your head, hold a controller. Okay, your left thumb is your analog stick. The D-pad is right above the analog stick. No. So moving forward and strafing is the analog stick. Left and right is your strafe. And so it's actually not that big of an adjustment.
I do have to interrupt it. I do have to interrupt here. Calling that an analog stick, which is why I kept saying nub.
It's very generous.
Very generous. Very generous.
It's a nub.
That is a nub.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as painful as it sounds to get used to this analog nub and the face button aiming, it actually, like, it sucks for about the first 5 minutes, but the game speed compensates for it. You're not expected to do all of this fast movement, precision, twitch. Like, this is not a Call of Duty or anything like that. It's kind of it's almost like playing, if you've like played classic Doom or like on the PC or something. It's almost like that speed. While you're aiming, again, we're holding the PSP, the analog stick, D-pad down is your lock on. So what you're doing is you're holding this system and you're essentially crab crawling it with your left hand while also aiming and shooting with the right trigger, which is also somewhat of a crab claw. So in both cases, the PSP is basically digging into your palm on either side. No. And so I couldn't stand playing this game more than like 30 to 45 minutes. I had to take some breaks. And the one time I played it for an hour, I legit thought, I was like, okay, I need to actually, like, I have work tomorrow. I need to be on a computer. It's like, I was like this close to putting it on ice.
So I played it emulated. I did not play it with the PSP. And everything you described, I thought about how this would transcribe over to a PSP, and I was just like, I'm so glad I didn't. I played with an Xbox Series X controller, and I actually would use my right thumb to jump over to the left side to do lock on when it was moving around.
Yeah.
Just because I can't remember how I did that. I'd have to let me pick up my controller.
Well, sniper rifles are also
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I bounced over. It's easy.
Just bounced over. Yeah.
I didn't use a sniper rifle at all. Never used a sniper rifle.
Well, let me because I have to explain this one. This is great. You're gonna love this.
Yeah.
So, sniper rifles. I'll just say right now, there is no reason to ever use a sniper rifle in this game. I did it once for posterity, and it was on one of the stealth missions. And it's funny the animation for someone getting shot with a sniper rifle is pretty funny. But other than that, whenever there is no moving and shooting with the sniper rifle, I don't even think, well, you can probably no scope, but again, doesn't matter. When you scope in with a sniper rifle, your scope in is the D-pad. You stop moving. All of a sudden, aiming becomes the left analog stick. Your zoom in and out button functions become the face buttons. So again, you're all of a sudden, imagine moving forward and pulling up the sniper rifle, then having to adjust to an entirely different control scheme on the fly. And there is, of course, there is no lock on for the sniper rifle. Your lock on button is your scope. So the issues of the whole precision aiming come to a head where just don't try a headshot. Don't worry about it. A body shot is all it takes. But yeah, sniper rifles are terrible.
I don't even know. I just by playing the game, I had a feeling they were unnecessary. Just by the way the game flowed, and they are unnecessary.
They're
completely unnecessary. But playing it emulated, playing with an Xbox Series controller, I didn't mind it. I got used to it after a while. Once I learned how everything worked, I think it was fine. I didn't have any serious grievances. I could imagine that everything was much worse on a PSP, and it sounds like it very much was. I would not want to play this on a PSP ever. Ever, ever, ever. But like playing it with a modern controller was actually not terrible. I do like the variety of guns you have, but what it really came down to for me was to find the most powerful machine gun and stick with that. And then look for the same type of machine gun the enemy was using and just swap that out every single time I came across it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they usually came out with the max loadout. I didn't even really like rocket launchers or anything powerful with that. Everything was just machine gun, machine gun, machine gun. I found pistols useless. Well, not useless. They were good, but again, nothing compared to the machine gun. What else did I have? Yeah, I just mostly stay with the machine gun. I would have to take a look at my regular weapon loadout, but I don't feel like I did anything interesting. Now, I would use the rocket launchers and the missiles for boss fights.
Oh, well,
and I do want to get into that.
Yeah,
I do want to. You needed to, and that's actually a gripe of mine, is because the game tells you you're going to be fighting something, but it doesn't really let you know what you're supposed to be doing. And then you can get to the level and pretty much completely soft lock yourself because you just are rolling with a loadout. You're like, yeah, everything's fine here. And then you get into a level and like, oh shit, I can't use this. I can't use this weapon. Like, this is trash. And so you have to exit out, and then you have to give the loadout to your character what's appropriate and go to your Tachikoma and load out the character that's appropriate. And that kind of does suck.
Yeah, it's really the Tachikoma that I got in trouble with sometimes. Because if you go down, sure, but if the Tachikoma goes down, that's also a mission failure. So I had a couple of times of, okay, my Tachikoma is dying very quickly, so I'm just going to give him a shield and tell him to hang back for a bit. But again, that's more, I only ever had that problem with the boss fights, and particularly against the girl with the sniper rifle. Because essentially what would happen is the Tachikoma would get in a fight with the other Tachikoma, and that thing would just tear him up. And so I learned, like, okay, when it comes to boss fights, I actually need to babysit the partner for a little bit. But that's one of those of you lose it once, okay, don't do that, start over, try again. With other boss fights, like against the tank, it's what was it? It was an arena, and they were just dropping, like they were just rocket launchers in the field that you could just hop across the arena, go grab a rocket launcher. Okay, thanks, game. I'm not going in with like that.
Pre-placed.
They were pre-placed.
They didn't just drop them.
Yeah, sorry.
Like you
they were pre-placed. Yeah.
You did have to go in there with the loadout anticipating you're going to have that kind of battle.
Yeah, because then you'd still have to swap out the gun for the rocket launcher. So then that's just, okay, sure, I hope I don't need to take on any grunts. But yeah,
yes.
The game, for the most part, most of your missions, it's not something that rewards a lot of experimentation. There's not a lot of ways to express yourself through gameplay. Most of the time, I went in there with like an assault rifle. If you think of like the Halo assault rifle was basically like your basic loadout. And then the enemies would be using something equivalent to like the battle rifle, the 3-tap. And that was generally good enough for me because I was also saving bullets by that amount. Because you can run out of ammo in this game. And that's just one of the challenges that you have to manage. You do have to manage your ammo somewhat. Most of the levels are short enough. This is more akin to like a small arena shooter, but there is the occasional level or like a long maze segment, or there's like a boss fight, air quotes, in a factory where you have to chase someone through, and it just keeps throwing mobs at you to where it's like,
That I hated that. I just went to fisticuffs.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just went to fisticuffs.
Pretty much. Like there was no reason to do otherwise. And most of the time I was just jumping around them. And then when I started to get swarmed, because no one was shooting at me. So when I got swarmed, it was just, oh wow, I'm actually punching somebody now.
So I'm actually looking at the weapons list. My loadout generally was the P27, which is an assault rifle. I also I used the saw, the LMG saw, which is a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rail gun, just because I like rail guns. I think
the rail gun's good. Yeah. And
yes.
I think speaking of guns, one thing that I think another part that I think the game could have done a little bit more is you actually have a couple characters to play as. So it's not just one person.
I didn't even know that until like way more than midway through the game.
Yeah. Because ostensibly, if you're talking about any kind of episode of standalone complex, yeah, there are like 9 members or so of Section 9. But really, at any point, an episode will focus on your main 3. So the major, Motoko Kusanagi, you know, she's the leader, she's the badass, she's the all-rounder, agility. That's basically who I played as the entire game. Her second in command, Bato, he's burly, muscle guy, and he's typically, you know, the big guns. And also like former special ops guy. He was in a unit called like the Rangers. Togasa, he's the most human of the group. Like I don't even think he really has a cyber brain at this point. So he's like the squishy human. And then again, Saito, he's the sniper. But I mean, there's no reason to use Saito in this game because everyone has like essentially different perks. So Kusanagi is like, okay, she's the fastest, or she has a good jump. Bato, I think, has more health, and Togasa is good with pistols. Great for him. His whole thing, he's always using a pistol called the Matever, his police issued 6-shooter, his classic revolver. So
I did use a lot of pistols, the dual pistols. That was fun.
Yeah, so like Togasa would have been good for that, but he's also very squishy. So like Togasa, I consider to be almost like hard mode. And then again, Saito, essentially when you have a sniper, you have that classic thing of the character's breathing, and you have the little bit of drift. Saito basically has no drift, but there's also no reason to use a sniper rifle, so he's just out right there.
No.
So I mean, I like you, I played the entire game basically as the major, and I thought maybe I'll swap over to Bato for like one mission.
I didn't even try. I didn't even care.
There's essentially no difference. Yeah, there's no difference. But like going in, classic Bato move with a railgun was fun for like one episode, for one mission. Kind of reminded me of one of the movies.
Did they swap them out for the plot sequences too? Because like the pre and post level sequences, it was.
Yeah, I think for the pre-rendered stuff, everyone's just holding a pistol.
Yeah. Yeah, but they do use the character that you select. Like, because I don't know. I just used Makoto the entire time.
Yeah, everyone has like a quip that they do, but I think for the pre-rendered cutscenes, I think it's still all Motoko. Again, I cannot say that for certain.
Didn't use anyone other than her.
I really didn't, and I did watch one other gameplay video as I was trying to see like, okay, I'm having a bit of trouble. What's in front of me? So I was like skipping through a YouTube video, and they also just ran Motoko the entire way. I was like, well, I'm not looking up another YouTube video because it's probably going to be another one of Motoko all the way. Because again, there's no reason to swap out from her. And also she moves faster while jumping anyways. So you get a couple levels in, it's like, oh, I'm just going to hippity hop across the screen while I am defusing bombs because I need to get to these places pretty quick.
Yeah, the level design I thought wasn't terrible. I thought it had some questionable moments. The stealth was absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Just why even bother? It doesn't work in this game. I know that Metal Gear Solid was a thing and kind of still is, whatever. But no, stealth didn't work here. Finding bombs on a timer was also terrible.
I kind of like that mission.
There was one
though.
level.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. It's fine.
It was different, but I'm still shooting people.
Exactly. It all boils down to kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
There were 2 levels that irritated me. One, not really. It's just once I learned what to do, it's like, oh, this is cool. But when I didn't know what to do, I hated it. And there was another one I just absolutely abhorred. So the one I didn't mind was the one where you had to set bombs throughout the facility and you had to set them to detonate all at the same time.
Oh, then get them out.
And I didn't. Yeah. And I didn't know that that was what you were supposed to do. So like I ran out the timer. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then like I just got like railroaded by bad guys. They were just coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't working. And then as soon as I set all the bombs to go off at the same time, the level became incredibly easier. Like, oh, you did it right. So now you don't have to face these guys that are bullet sponges and can kill you in 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, okay. So once I figured that out, it was fine. The other one is where you're descending on an elevator. And for whatever reason, my Tachikoma decided to go out on their own, jump off the elevator, and I couldn't do anything. And as I was descending, you just had snipers that would constantly shoot at you.
Yep.
And there is no real way of avoiding it.
No,
and I don't know how I passed that level. You just hop around.
You just hop around.
I don't know how I made it through that level.
Yeah. I think they knew that elevator sequence was kind of bullshit because right at the bottom of the elevator or at certain points there would be health packs. It's like, okay, so they know that there's like, I can't avoid 5 guys shooting at me all at once. I can avoid 1 or 2, but like, no, that was just, I kept sitting here going like, why? Because for one, again, there is no cover. This is also not a cover shooter. There is a way to crouch, but again, there's no reason to crouch in this game. There's no benefit from cover. It's just one of those things of it's a shootout on a slow elevator. I was like, this is like, there's no way any of them would have gotten into like willingly have put themselves in this situation. Like the only way a Section 9 member would be on this elevator right here is if they were duped in some way. Like there's no way, like they just walked in and willingly said, okay, I'm going to go specifically here and just leave myself completely open to any kind of gunfire.
Yeah, and then your Tachikoma just running around at the bottom of the elevator, suffering no damage by following down the entire way, by the way.
No.
And then by the time I got down there, though, he was almost dead. This is before I knew that you could hop into the I knew you could hop into the Tachikoma, but I didn't know that you could pick up health packs in the Tachikoma and it counted towards the Tachikoma.
Yes. Which is pretty cool actually in the game to do that. Because again, part of the Tachikoma's loadout is if you just leave them to their own devices, part of that menu is you can there's always an indicator at the top right of like, hey, I'm just going around, and then you'll see an icon where they're like, okay, we're engaging in combat, like they're doing a shooting motion up at the top. So I do kind of like that you can, yeah, it's cute, and you can see what your Tachikoma's up to, and then if you jump in, you're essentially operating the tank, which at some parts of the game I was like, we're kind of necessary for like some boss fights. I thought, okay, let's just try and keep this thing alive for a little bit longer. But it is still pretty cool because they got ups. Those things can jump. And it is kind of cool to go, like, speaking of railgun, I would outfit mine with a railgun and like all of the heavy weaponry. And as long as you keep an eye on their ammo, as long as they don't run out of ammo or like you give them like a melee weapon or something, then they'll pretty much take care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they do a really good job of it. There's just that one mission where they didn't. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's just one mission in there. I thought the escort missions were going to be worse, but actually it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Yeah, it really wasn't. I will have to say, I think this is the first time I've ever seen Chief Aramaki with a gun. Like, this man never goes into the field like this. He's always, like, he never shoots a gun. I think the only time I've ever seen Aramaki with a gun was in the live action movie, which even then it was silly to see him wielding a gun in that one.
Yeah, the escorts didn't bother me whatsoever. And that's the thing. Like you said, he had a gun and he could pretty much fend for himself. And I wasn't worried about him. But the other ones, like if you were getting anywhere near enemy fire, they'd stay back.
Yeah.
And they would stay out of the way. Unless you just completely rush. Yeah. The only way I did die on one, but that was my fault because I just wandered into the area too fast and didn't even think about what I was doing and just like progressed, and I kept trying to force them forward. I was trying to rush it. So when I got done with that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is my fault. But you're not on a timer. You actually have to go back and grab them, and you can clear out all the enemies in the meantime. So it's very forgiving in terms of its escort missions. Probably too forgiving, but for a PSP game and not a console game, I'll 100% give it because like it already has its own difficulties. Yeah, totally. All right. Anything else we really want to discuss here with the gameplay?
that's all the major points, I suppose. There's so many other tangents to go. Actually, my favorite prompt in any video game, collect information. I love that prompt because it's a prompt that pops up on the screen as soon as I'm like kicking down the door into this warehouse and I just see collect information on the screen as like 5 guys are shooting at me. I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna collect information on this guy. He's dead. Collect information on this guy. He's dead. I just love that that's the prompt on the screen. Because of course, after it was done, then it shows the cool scene of Tachikomas, hacking into doing their R2D2 stuff, and people going through files. It's just an interesting way to phrase that. It's something that the one thing that I'm always going to remember from this game is collect information. Blam, 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 blam.
Okay, I do have one more thing to say for the bosses, like the giant tanks.
Oh, the bosses, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I love the fact that you could either just snipe them with rocket launchers, or you could debilitate them through hacking.
True.
Once you got them weak enough.
Yeah, I forgot completely about the hacking thing because it was like one of the only times that it ever came up, and I don't even remember a tutorial. I don't think I did any hacking in this game. I just went in guns blazing and just played. I just kited them around the arena and just kept blasting them. Was it like different? Was it those different terminal rooms?
No. You just jump on them.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah. I was just like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, so it like has the ability, like you say, like collect information. It was kind of that, but it like gives you the option to go up there. It was like a button
prompt. Yeah, it wasn't like a mini game or anything. It was just a button. Okay. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it was like a button prompt. Yeah. Because I always thought it. Yeah, because when I would jump up there, it's always reminding me of like the movie when she's up against the giant spider tank and tries to open up the hatch.
I need to watch that again. I need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's always they do it. She does it in like episode 2 of Standalone Complex. Giant spider tank. She jumps on the back of it, unloads her pistol into the hatch, and tries to force it open. Tries to shoot the hinges off, and tries to blow it up. And then Bato comes to the rescue with the big gun, and it's shaped Actually, it's Ishikawa shoots it. The guy in the chair gets the big gun. So the helicopter swoops in, and Ishikawa has the big old bazooka just out of the big movie, and he shoots up the tank so the major can do the hack. That's like episode 2. It's a hell of a call out.
I just wish there was more call outs. Let's get into how this game. Sorry. Let's get into this game's graphical appeal. I played this on an emulator, as I already said, so big asterisk here. But on the emulator, and it was probably cleaned up a ton. I think I did some options to clean it up. It looked really good. It looked phenomenal. The character models I could tell were like PSP polygonal models. It looked like the actual design was somewhere in between PS1 and PS2, which makes sense. That's appropriate. But everything was really clean. Everything looked like just great. It looked great. There was a couple times when the character models, when they were talking, it was a little weird when like you would have them talking and their mouths wouldn't move. It was just them, and it was odd. But I can't complain. I thought this game just looked great. I thought it looked phenomenal. Again, listen, this is because I'm probably playing it through PPSSPP and playing it on I'm playing the emulator and all cleaned up resolution, and jaggy's gone. All those things. So you played this once again on the PSP. How does it look there?
It looks about on par with what you would expect from 3D graphics on a PSP. You got more of the jagginess, so I imagine there's not as much smoothing on there. Yeah, the character models are just very stiff. It's very basic animation. There's a lot of Uncanny Valley going because they opted to have the mouths actually animate instead of doing like the Kingdom Hearts thing of the faces are essentially a 2D thing on a 3D model where the mouths are just a drawing. In this one, like the lips are actually moving. So yes, there's a little bit of doll-like and puppeteer sort of just off. It looks weird, but it's one of those of like, yeah, this is a PSP. This is the compromise they made. And for all things considered, I mean, it's not that jagged or blocky. I think it looks fine. I think for the setting and the actual levels and the colors, as I'm thinking, it's a very industrial looking game. There's not a lot of natural spaces in here. And anytime you are outdoors, again, you are in the far north. So it's like gray skies. Everything's kind of muted. So the first thing I'm thinking when I'm going back, it's just a very gray sort of kind of grungy looking game. It's got a nice, which feeds into the atmosphere of where you are. But I mean, I don't really have any major positives or big negatives to say. I think it looks pretty much on par for what PSP games were doing at the time. I've certainly seen the graphics go worse, but it's nothing like it's not going to look as good as something like Daxter or any of the Ratchet and Clank games on the PSP. It's just not that kind of game. But it gets the job done, and it's a bit basic. The levels are where it's polygonal and just very square and kind of just it's a sharp and angular level design. So there is that. I'm trying to think of like a standout moment other than like the tank battle and the final showdown with like the hotel lobby where you're jumping around this room, and that was pretty cool. But there's not a ton of variety in the levels here or in the visuals. But the characters are about as close as you're going to get for the anime character designs into a video game form. And you did have folks from Production IG who were at least providing designs for this game. So the character designer from Ghost in the Shell does have credits as the character designer for this video game.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And some of the screenshots that I've seen online of it, so it's probably taken directly from the PSP version, look nowhere near as clean as what I was getting on my computer. And that's to be expected, right? Because the up-resing is going to help, exponentially.
Yeah, the screenshots you're likely seeing are also blown up images. Because again, the PSP screen is much smaller. So all of that jaggedness is pretty much hidden or accounted for just with how big of a screen that we're dealing with here, the screen economy of the PlayStation Portable. So
for sure.
There's give and take. So I know you had a much bigger screen than I did with the emulation and the cleaning up. So you weren't doing like a small smartphone's worth of screen economy on your big computer screen, Oh,
of course not.
So, but I mean, it's not a particularly ugly game, but other than the character designs and the faithfulness to like the machinery and the tech and the Tachikoma, I mean, it is what it is. It's an arena shooter on the PSP.
Now in the show standalone complex, does Makoto run around in lingerie the entire time too?
Not exactly.
Because she never gets out of that lingerie outfit.
Yeah, that is her default outfit. She'll put a jacket on top. She'll put a jacket really on top of it. That. Yeah, the leotard. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the jacket makes it tasteful.
The jacket indeed makes it tasteful.
Makes it for polite company.
Yeah, there is a fun one of the times when like Bato's on the run, and so he's in one of her safe houses, and she hides an entire weapons arsenal under the lingerie drawer. And so like Bato's he's in this tense shootout, and he opens up a drawer and he goes, "Oh, amazing." And it's just all brasieres. He's reaching under there. It's like, "Oh, good tasting guns too." Just one of those classic Bato quips. And there is one time where Motoko gets ambushed in one of her safe houses, and she has to get out. And Aramaki kind of makes it a comment, "By the way, are you trying to seduce everyone in the entire room?" And she just kind of gives him this look like, "No, I barely escaped with my life, you asshole. This is what I was wearing at the time." But yes, they like to show off her assets. Full cyborg, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she has, or she's told, Motoko is a brain and a little bit of brain stem. Everything else is all cyborg.
Okay. Because I do remember, like, one of the lines they they were talking about how this girl they were chasing was synthetic, and like how there wasn't really any humans left or something to the effect. And they called her a woman. They're like, "Oh, I'm surprised that you actually considered me to be a woman. Like, you think I'm a woman or something like that?" I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I thought this was established. I don't know.
She presents herself as a woman most of the time. Again, that is her shell, so that is how she is most of the time. But yes, Multico does indeed engage in the body swap every now and then. Sometimes when she needs to go undercover, or there's another female model that she'll use. At one point, she is accused, or might be that Multico is the puppet master of some other storyline because she is controlling like two bodies at once at one point. So she plays both sides of the line, and it's a bit more apparent. It's a lot more apparent in the manga and in some other things, but it's largely understood in standalone complex that I don't know if the term is like asexual, but it's not like she has anything to get down and dirty with anybody anyways. It's all in the mind. So it's she is very much presented as female. She's got that very very much so in the character design, but as it is, there's a lot more of like exploration of gender fluidity within her character, at least in the show.
She's also a robot.
She's also a robot. Yes. So they kind of have free license. They have free license to play with all of that. Well, she is no gender.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way to tackle that in the show, or like transhumanism in the series as well. A lot of her personality is online and away. So even if one of her shells get taken out, it's not like Multico is gone.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to comment on the graphics.
Sure.
One thing I do want to comment on the graphics is the animations. I think you already pointed this out. I wanted to agree with you on that. The animations sometimes are a little weird. They're not always authentic. They can be they can take you away.
Stiff.
Again, this is like PS, in between PS1 and PS2. It's what they could do with the PSP's capabilities. I think what was funniest is I think some of the fights I had against, what's the girl's name? I'm going to keep just the girl and her
Senna, I believe. Give me a second.
Senna and her Tachikoma thing. Sometimes it felt like when I would watch the move around the screen. Sakari. Like those battles, they would move around pretty comically because they're moving around faster. So like her Tachikoma is just kind of like moving all over the place. Like it's just gliding all over the floor. And she's like, I think the one where you're fighting them in the open in like a parking lot. She's just kind of, I remember her jumping all over the place.
The strafing animation is pretty funny.
Yes. Like when they're strafing, it's just, this is like Kusoge. That was like, it's right there in those specific boss fights. And it's just like, okay, this is weird. It's funny. And I can't get a good aim on them. I'm just going to keep firing at them with my lock on because what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. So I do agree with you. Sometimes the animations can be a little off. Now, this is something you talked about to me a bit offline. And this is the music in the sound department. Now, it sounds like you're a big fan of Yoko Kanno, who did the composition for the music for the anime series. Does not sound like she's involved whatsoever with this game. And that seemed to let you down. So what did you think of the music and sound?
Now, when I was listening to the game, I was like, this probably could be her. But the more I kept going through credits, I was like, well, I never just saw her listed because the soundtrack feels like, so if anyone knows, like Yoko Kanno, Cowboy Bebop, and several others, Yoko Kanno did a lot of experimental and just kind of out there tracks for Ghost in the Shell. If you think back to like Kenji Kawai's soundtrack with the original movie, and like you wouldn't expect tribal chanting in a cyborg movie. You kind of basically continued in that tradition, mixing like everything from traditional and orchestral to electronica, traditional woods and things. So this soundtrack is more like Boots and Cats, really. A lot of Boots and Cats tracks in this one. Like someone listened to the soundtrack and tried to emulate what she did. But again, a lot of the things that she did were more mood pieces, or they would be put through, like they weren't exactly battle tracks. And so it's someone trying to emulate the spirit, I think, of the Standalone Complex soundtrack. But then we're told, hey, you realize this is a shooting game. So just break up more of the guitar and just make it sound, again, it kind of adds to the more industrial feeling of this game. So no, Yoko Kanno is not attached to this soundtrack. And, it's not like she hasn't phoned it in before, but that's not typically her reputation. So I will not put that on her for this game. But I'm sure there's a lot of inspiration taken from her work on the main series, especially with, like, there's a final boss or a final confrontation where it's about, like, they've been like the same 4 songs just about through. It's not a very deep soundtrack particularly. I think there's like 4 or 5 songs for the entire mission that they just kind of rotate them out. And then you get
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, then you get the one lady's vocal track for like the final confrontation where it gets all ephemeral and a little bit mystic and chanting, which is more like Gabriella Robin into Origa and like the opening credits of Standalone Complex. Again, a lot more of like that cyborg, the chanting, the making of cyborg chant. There's like one track like that, and it's for the final confrontation before the final cutscene of, aha, we have solved the case.
I think something you said there really stuck out to me is that it feels like there's only 4 or 5 tracks. There's probably more than that. Maybe there probably is. I have to assume there is. But it doesn't feel like there's more than 4 to 5 tracks for the majority of this game.
And they all sound very similar.
Yes. So it's very repetitive. That isn't me saying that it's bad. This isn't me saying the soundtrack to this game is bad. It's just that it doesn't feel like it has variety. It gets stale, if that's a good way to put it, especially after 4 hours of, continuously hearing what feels like the same track. Even with the last track with Standing, by that point, I don't think I was really paying attention. I didn't care, as I was kind of surprised that the last level was the last level. Yeah. It felt very anticlimactic. It felt like the level previous to that probably should have been, or a battle prior to that should have been. It just didn't come off very well. I know, more of a gameplay complaint, but whatever. This is how this episode is flowing. The sound effects for the guns, the explosions, everything like that, I thought were rock solid. I thought those were very good. I thought those really hit well. The voice acting. Now, what's going to hurt the voice acting here is not the performance. The performances from all the characters, I think, were fine. I think this more comes down to direction. And the reason I say direction is something we already mentioned earlier in the story, which is it's just the exposition and the material of what is within that is extraordinarily excruciatingly boring at times. So even if the voice acting is good, which I think it does match the characters, and I think you told me that these are the same English voice actors that we got in the anime dub here in the West.
Correct.
And I think they're fine. The thing is that they're kind of marred by bad writing, or just boring writing. And so that people might get the wrong impression. So I don't think that the performances are bad at all. I think that it's just the writing is bad for this game. And like I said, I think nothing could stick out more to that than the Tachikoma being the standout. The Tachikoma's voice acting here, brilliant, loved it, had plenty of personality, really brought that character to life, brought the game to life. And I appreciated that. So, I mean, I can't call the sound bad. It's really more standard. It's what you should expect. It's not a standout. Now, the sound effects, I think, kind of were. But, I mean, if that's more to the fact that if I can't say anything bad about a sound effect, that's what I expect. Like, the only time that sounds are bad is if you can say something bad about it. And I can't recall anything bad about the sound effects here whatsoever. So I give it that. But like the music, kind of drab, kind of boring, not bad. Didn't interfere with what I was doing, so that's fine. And the voice acting was fine. It was just, it put me to sleep. They know how to put me to sleep.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I am actually kind of glad that you liked the Tachikoma dialogue, because that is very much like, if there's anything that I felt like this is feel pretty true to the show, it was the Tachikoma, which a lot of times I see like, oh gosh, can these guys please shut up? Please, I just get back to the deal. And yeah, the Tachikoma, if there's any kind of like comic relief in the anime, like no one, like again, your first episode, or actually, sorry, not your first episode with Vampire Hunter, Ray Earth. You know, a lot of its comedy is characters deform into these chibi models. No, there is no off-model antics in any kind of standalone complex, in any kind of Ghost in the Shell, except the manga, and quite possibly, again, the one coming out in 2026, which is very much using the manga design. So there's probably going to be distortion there. But for, again, everything 1995 up till now, there's no off-model, cutaway, haha, funny shenanigans. It's all been Tachikoma doing like the little chirping. Although speaking of Ray Earth, the voice actress for Hikaru Shido from Magic Knight's Ray Earth is the voice of the Tachikomas, as well as the Fuchikomas in Ghost in the Shell, the PS1 game, which I thought was a nice little touch. She gets to chirp away at both versions.
That's funny. I love that. I love how it links together. I love how it links together.
But I mean, yeah, like you said, it's the vocal cast. You know, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is the major. Richard Epcar, he's been voicing Bato since the movie, so he's kept that character. Same with William Frederick Knight, rest in peace. He was Chief Aramaki in the original film, and he voiced that character all the way up to 2022. Again, Crispin Freeman as Togasa, doing his gruff detective voice like always. And for what it's worth, yes, Dave Wittenberg as Saito, although again, he doesn't really have that much to do. And who else is Ishikawa? Oh yeah, Michael McCarty is Ishikawa. And they all started with standalone complex. You know, nothing bad to say about any of their lines. They, at this point, they've done 2 seasons and probably a movie by this point as these guys. So they are very much comfortable in the roles of these characters. No stilted deliveries. I think the new folks are coming in with the general and the corrupt politician both play their parts as directed. I really don't have any. The little girl with the huge sniper rifle doesn't have any vocal lines. So no. There's that. Like I really have no, like you said, no complaints about the voice acting as it sounds. It's just one of those of like, yeah, these guys were given a script. They are reading their lines and they are drawing a paycheck as trotting out as their puppet. Hey, look at this. I'm the major, guys. So nothing really else to say. I think you pretty much knocked it out.
Yeah. It's like the voice direction is, hey, do I put any emotion here? And the voice director is like, no. Yeah. Make it sound like you're the character. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Nah. You're talking like you're having a meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Speaking of meetings, we're going to have a meeting of the patrons in our patron pontifications. Thank you, patrons, for participating.
Thank you, patrons.
We got 3. Yeah. Thank you, Dave. We have 3 this week. Unfortunately, I was hoping that we have more. Apparently, Ghost in the Shell is not very popular, or people just didn't care enough to post this. Boo! By the way, I thought this was an extraordinarily popular anime. I said you could talk about the anime, people. Anyway, let's get into it. And before I do, how can you participate in Patreon pontifications? Well, first of all, become a patron for as little as $1 a month. That's it. $1. Can't afford $1. I do apologize. I do understand. But $1 gets you in the door. And that means you can go to our Discord, which is free, by the way. Discord is free. And there you go to our Patreon Pontifications channel, where the next game that is coming up will show up, and you can put your thoughts there, and they will be read on this show. Alternatively, I also post a section for the patrons on the Patreon, where you can provide your thoughts as well. That's not as popular. It hasn't been as popular. I saw one last time we did it, but that's also there for you too. So, without further ado, let's get into the patron pontifications and what everyone thought this week, or at least the people who participated. First pontification is from Alt. Alt says, "They call me Ghost in the Shell, 'cause I only shoot blanks." That's TMI Alt. "I got nothing, man. FPS games on PSP was a choice, though. I think this is an FPS at least. I know nothing about the IP. Thank you, Alt. You are right. It is a FPS.
And it was indeed a choice.
It was a choice.
Lethco writes in, they say, haven't played this one. I love the Ghost in the Shell game on PlayStation 1, though. And I agree. I really want to check out that PlayStation 1 game. The only experience I have with it is there was a run on Games Done Quick a little while ago, and so I watched Ghost in the Shell PS1. So I think it's all just a pure tank shooter. Like you're just in the Tachikoma the entire time, shooting up other tanks. It looks like a lot of fun. And of course, the runner was just like absolutely destroying this game. So I've wanted to at least check it out or like watch a full proper Let's Play instead of it being a speed run. Yeah, I would like to check out the PlayStation 1 game.
Hey, if you can emulate it, we'll do it next year.
Yeah, I will absolutely emulate it.
Okay. I'll put you down for that. That's what we're doing next year for anime. We're sticking with Ghost in the Shell. Dave's coming back for Ghost in the Shell PS1.
My favorite show, so I will gladly talk more Ghost in the Shell.
Hell yeah, Anime Month is scheduled. Right, lastly is Randall. I told you there's only a few here. And Randall, by the way, I just got to say, I will get to Third Birthday eventually. I promised him I would play Third Birthday. I need to play Parasite Eve 2. This was part of a deal of me getting some PSP games. I got a big haul from him. And it was on the condition that I play and review Third Birthday, and I have not done that. I feel terrible, Randall, so I am acknowledging that. And I'm letting everyone know that I'm a terrible human being for not playing Third Birthday, even though I promised you I would. Smooches. What does Randall have to say about Ghost in the Shell standalone complex for the PSP? And he apparently has played it. And he says, anime? Peak. Game? Felt like a CDI game. Incredibly stilted and clunky. Wow. Right. Thank you, Randall. Now, I think that's a good transition into what we think about this game and whether it has held up today. As is tradition, once again, as we are wont to do, I will go first, and then Dave, as being our guest, will give the final and definitive word on whether or not this game has held up today. My answer is this. If you're going to play this game, absolutely, under no condition, under no terms, should you play this game on a PSP. I did not play this game on a PSP. I could only imagine what playing this game on a PSP would be like. Doesn't seem like a wise decision. So if you want to play it on the PSP, then this game does not hold up. This game would not hold up as a PSP game. Don't try it. Don't even try it. You're going to be cursing yourself. Like, and a lot of it is just time. But even by 2006, you had the dual analog control in a lot of first-person shooter games, especially by 2006. When did this game? I think it came out in 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2005. By that point, we were just starting to get it. It became commonplace. Modern Warfare 2 wasn't out yet. But the standard was being set in terms of first-person shooter genre, and it was still off. Now, if you want to play this emulated, I think that there's quite a bit of fun here. It's not a ton of fun, but to say it doesn't hold up at all, that would be a lie. I would say that it would hold up on a technicality. But I'm not talking about playing this game emulated. I'm talking about playing this game on original hardware, and I can only infer what this game would be like on original hardware. And I'm sure Dave is about to set the record extremely straight. And I would say no, especially because if you want to get this game, I think it costs about $80 complete in box, and you do not want to get a UMD loose. That's not the kind of game you want to get in loose condition. You definitely want it in a nice shell to protect it because of the way that it's designed. So I'm going to go ahead and unfortunately say no. I wish they would remaster this game in some form. Hasn't been done with some dual analog controls and just remaster controls, because I think the potential is definitely there. But it's just they were ambitious, and I don't think that ambition necessarily paid off. Dave, what did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. This game has aged badly, but that was also why one of the things that I said at the top of this episode, I picked this game because this is a game so much of its time addressing specific hardware limitations. Because I have no doubt if there was a second analog stick, or if this was something that I could put on my PlayStation Vita, there are plenty of other PlayStation games where I have remapped fully controls onto the Vita, or like you said, the emulation. Yeah, really don't. It's not worth picking this up now by itself in box. Just emulate it, because even within the game, for their slight credit, I will say this: there are 8 different control options that you can do. There are 8 different presets. They basically said control styles 1 through 4, and like it was like control style 1A, 1B is how they did it. Nothing felt right. And so I just said, I'm just going to get used to the default controls. It's okay to play once you can get your brain around to it. It's not like going back and playing an old game of like old Resident Evil, like, okay, I just need to rewire my brain for tank controls. Then it does everything fine. This game is clunky. It has a control scheme, basically all of its own. And it just has several moments of, like I said, just that clunkiness and frustration, good old PSP jank. But I think I'm still glad that I played it on original hardware. I'm glad that I was able to finally get an excuse to really just sit down and play this game. And even with that being said, yeah, the game does not hold up today. It just absolutely not. I think it's a nice little, if you're really curious and don't even want to emulate it, there are plenty of YouTube Let's Plays. You could just kind of get an idea of what the visuals are like and what the story is. But there's just not a lot of meat on the bone here in terms of like a lot of content or like just it's not a complex game. So no, it just...
Not even standalone.
No, it's not a good standalone game either, because it doesn't tie into anything. It doesn't pay off anything else of the plot. It just kind of stands there, doesn't really say anything, doesn't really contribute anything, which, fine, it's a spin-off game. You don't have to introduce these world-changing stakes, but the game just doesn't really have anything to say. It's just kind of there. And
yeah. Well, you said it's not very complex, and that's why
it's not a good standalone game, nor is it complex. Yes, I was exactly doing that kind of lead-in stuff. So no, it does not hold up, but I mean, it's a game very much of its time, and it was fun to, in its own way, to kind of endure the way that these guys had to approach these design challenges. So from that aspect, even from like a weird game design standpoint, it might be a good little historical look at, I suppose. But yeah, this is unless you're just morbidly curious and want to emulate this thing and just map your face buttons to your WASD or your arrow buttons or however you want to do it on your computer or other device or your controller. If you want, if I could map the face buttons to a second analog stick, I would do it in a heartbeat. So just...
Oh, you could.
Yeah, was not even an option in mind. So not the worst thing to control once I got my brain around it, but it was just instead of a continuous shooter, it was more moments of stop for like a pause and then keep going. Stop, re-aim, go. Stop, re-aim, go. And it would just be like for a breath. So yeah, those are pretty much what I think of the game.
Well, there you have it. Both myself and Dave say, no, this game does not hold up, so long as you're playing it on the PSP, which is what this show is about. Your mileage may vary in terms of the emulation scene. So if this is something you're interested in, then of course you're interested in it. But we have both said, stay away in terms of its PSP.
It's not worth the carpal tunnel.
No. But I need to say thank you to Super Dave for showing up today. Thank you so much for showing up on another episode of Retro Hangover. It's always appreciated. Love to have your mind here, especially when it comes to anime content. Always appreciate it as someone who was definitely into anime a lot when they were younger. It always impresses me just the depth of your knowledge that you always have about these things, and I'm always impressed. But yeah, thank you for showing up here. Thank you for giving me your time and giving the audience your time and your perspective. But most importantly, where can they find you and your anime expertise on the internet?
Well, thank you again for having me on the show. It was a blast last year. And since that Harvest Moon episode, is about 2 months after that, I launched my new podcast, The Anime Field Guide. So it's hard to believe we're about to turn 1 year old, but that's just kind of how it goes. when you do it. But yes, the Anime Field Guide is my podcast. It is my second podcast. I previously ran a show called the Treehouse Anime Club. And the idea of both of these shows, mainly the Field Guide, is I do a monthly review series. So I pick a show or a movie, I review it, typically with a guest, or sometimes I just still run it solo. And I just say, like, this is cool. This is why I think it's neat. Here's some interesting beats, and here are all the cool people that worked on it. So my goal is to help bring folks not just to like, here's a cool anime, I want to talk about it, but to generally and gradually build folks' knowledge of these are the people that work in the industry. These are how all these companies interplay, and this is why this is cool, because someone's experience over on this show was brought over to another show. In addition, I run a side series called the Studio Rundown, which is more my by the numbers historical take a look at anime production houses across Japan. So I have episodes from everything from Studio Ghibli and Madhouse and Manglobe. I just did an episode on Studio Gonzo, which if you're a fan from the 2000s, Gonzo, I'm sure you're hearing that in your head again. So yeah, it's a fun time. I have good guests. It's good vibes, and it's not a terribly big time commitment. I can handle about once a month because I am very busy in my day life, but I do my best to present the information in a fun and engaging way. And I hope you guys check us out. Again, we're the Anime Field Guide. You can find me on all the major social media platforms except for X. I'm like on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Anime Field Guide, Linktree, linktr.ee/ani, Field Guide, all one word. And there's also a YouTube channel where I do more like the edited side. So the Anime Field Guide on YouTube, if that's more your speed. And I am in the process of uploading the back catalog of the Treehouse Anime Club to YouTube. If you're one of the OGs. So however you want to engage with the show, thank you guys for giving me a chance again on this episode. And I hope any of my other anime focused episodes are enjoyable to you as well. Hope to see you around on the internet.
Yeah, go check out the Anime Field Guide. Go check out everything that Dave mentioned there. Greatly appreciate everything, Dave. And thank you for coming on once again. As for the Retro Hangover podcast, if this is the first time that you're checking us out and you want to know where you can find more of us, first of all, hello. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for hanging out all the way to the end. And where you can find us is at a link tree, which is linktr.ee/retro hangover. You can find everything you need to find there. We are technically on all the socials, even though I'm terrible at responding to them. Normally, this is where I say I love Discord the most, but apparently they're doing some weird crap. So I don't know where that's headed.
We shall see.
I have no idea. I have been preaching, I hate all social media except for Discord. I don't know anymore. I just want to crawl into a cave and be a hermit. I think that's where this is going. Give me my cave, my internet, and my microphone. And I guess that's about it. That's where my life is heading in that direction. Enough about that tangent. Just if you want to find us, we're there at all those places for the time being. We also have a Blue Sky account because we're on X, Facebook, Meta. There's the same thing. X, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, yeah, and Discord. Discord is where we're most active, but who knows for how much longer. Could be a while, could not be. And we have all sorts of other stuff. Anyway, that's all that we have for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening to us throughout this episode. And until next time, play with your crap joysticks. Good night, everybody, or good day, whatever you're doing. Bye.
Shane here with a quick message. You know, the one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in headfirst with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.